Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing a painfully easy, simple recipe. I kind of feel silly even making a video for it. So we're just going to get right into it and make some fajitas. Fajitas are an excellent low-carb meal. You don't need the tortillas. I promise it's just as good. And I share some of my substitutions for tortillas, and I think that you're going to love them. So let's get right into how to make fajitas. Alright guys, so I got myself a little piece of flank steak here, and I'm cutting with the grain. Now if that makes sense, you can see the little white fat lines and kind of the way that the meat goes, and you want to cut along those lines. It'll make your life a heck of a lot easier. Not to mention you need a really sharp knife, so just be careful with your fingers. And I say this in every single video. You want to have it be symmetrical pieces, which means about the same length, width, and density, because if you do that, see I'm opening it up so that it's kind of like going to end up being the same size. If you do that, it's going to cook easier for you so that you don't have to focus as hard. Now this is going to go in a crock pot, but it does just make life easier in general for all meals, especially specifically with like meats and vegetables, that you want them to be similar in size. Now I folded it back over because I could double up my workload and cut through it at the same time, but then when I flip it open, you're still going to be cooking it around the same thickness or density. I hope that that makes sense as I'm kind of doing this, and try to get a cutting board that doesn't move across your table like mine does. That's dangerous and you can cut yourself, and I'm definitely on the market for a new cutting board that doesn't like roll around on me. And as you can see, when I got to these end pieces here, I chose to cut them in half again. And I do need to get my knives professionally sharpened, so I'm kind of struggling with the fat, which again can be dangerous, especially for a newbie. Now this is one of the easiest meals literally in the history of ever. So when you make this, you're gonna think, wow, why did she make a video? It takes like maybe under 10 minutes, and it's just so simple. So the hardest part is right now, making sure the meat is all symmetrical, and if you don't want to do that, you honestly don't have to. The next step is just going to be the veggies that go in with the fajitas. So in this case, I happen to have an onion on hand. Now, James does not do well with nightshade plants, so bell peppers, which is typically what we would have with fajitas. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I literally just put in the onions, and then we put a bunch of toppings on later. So for this particular one, we literally just have a half an onion. You want to cut along with the striations, and I only used a half. Have a sharp knife, make sure it's all good to go, and then we're just going to dump it all into a crock pot. So I have my crock pot here. We're going to put some avocado oil in at the bottom. I wouldn't recommend olive oil or canola oil. You don't want to use any oils that are going to go rancid at high heat. I did not have a jar of peppers and tomatoes, so I decided to just throw some salsa in that I had left over at the bottom. And normally I would use like the Rotel chili peppers at the bottom of this, but honestly it worked just fine, and it kind of just lubricates it and keeps the meat all moist. When I put the onions in, I kind of just ran them through my fingers to make sure they're not stuck together, and we're just going to top it off with the meat. Now you could just slough this all in like with a spoon or something, but I just like to spread it out a little bit with my fingers. I feel like I have more dexterity, and I don't mind getting meat on my hands. And then we're going to see the final look about how I make it delicious. Now you can cook this on high for 4 hours, or you can cook it on low for 8. I prefer to cook it for low for 8 and then come back the next day. And so you get to see what we put on it and what James did. The most important part of fajitas is probably the seasoning. It's primarily cumin, but we just put taco seasoning that already had cumin in it and added a little bit more. Now that can totally be up to you and to what you choose, which is why it's not included in this video, because I feel like you can pick up a little packet of fajita seasoning. Just make sure that there's no of those crazy sugars that I've talked about in my sugar video, which is probably my most informative and most important video that you could possibly watch on this channel. And then when we wanted to use tortillas, we have two different options that we like to use. One is the folio cheese wraps, which are amazing, and they're literally like cheddar or Parmesan cheese that's folded out like a tortilla. And then there's jicama wraps, which is just jicama but pressed into the form of a tortilla, which is what James is going to be trying in this next clip.
Good.
So his only complaint is that it's weird because it's cold, because I took too long after he heated it for me. And the jicama wrap does get warm with like the fajita meat. I'm sure you love that I'm recording you right now, don't you? Mm-hmm. And it's a little messy, so just so you know.
That was just a quick glimpse in my kitchen, but basically what we did is to make the fajita more of a meal rather than just meat with onions, we top it with a lot of different options.
Out for me, I've got some sour cream, some of this salsa, which is amazing, avocado, Tillamook, cheddar jack cheese. But these are what's really cool. The jicama wraps. So they're pretty sturdy and they don't really crack like they did just now, but I had to pinch it pretty hard. The meat does not fall through. It's a really great tortilla substitute, I think, because tortillas don't really like have flavor. And the other ones are in the fridge, which are these
The cheese drawer.
in the cheese drawer. Apparently I don't know where I'm going. So we have these guys, the folio cheese wraps. The cheddar ones are our favorite. They are amazing, especially even just for this picture for like a BLT or whatever, but they're great as a breakfast burrito wrap, but they do get hot and melt, so they kind of fall apart, so it kind of depends on what you're going for. It's so gross looking, but so
I put
good.
avocado on it, some sour cream, cheddar cheese that was shredded, and some salsa. And it was fan-freaking-tastic and extremely filling and a full meal. So if you want to see more of these quick and easy meals, if you want to learn a low-carb, ketogenic lifestyle, please subscribe below. My name is Brienne and I post weekly food videos. And I just want to be happy and healthy and live the best life that I can. And if you want to come with me, that would mean the world to me. So I'll see you guys next week. Ta-ta!